My name is Jessica, and I'm 26 years old. I have a story about the day I discovered my entire family celebrated my birthday without me, a week before the actual date. What they didn't know was that I had been planning something special for months, and their betrayal would backfire in the most beautiful way possible. You won't believe what my family did to me, but karma had other plans. This is about favoritism, financial manipulation, and the satisfaction of outsmarting family members who thought they could use me forever. My name is Jessica, and I'm 26 years old. I have a story that will make you question everything you thought you knew about family loyalty. This is the story of how I discovered my parents and siblings celebrated my birthday without me, a week early, and how that betrayal led to the most satisfying revenge I've ever witnessed. But let me start from the beginning, because you need to understand the dynamics of my family to truly appreciate what happened. I'm the middle child of 3. My older brother Marcus is 29, and my younger sister Chloe is 23. Growing up, I was always the responsible one. While Marcus was out partying and dropping out of college twice, and Chloe was the precious baby who could do no wrong, I was the one helping mom with groceries, doing my own laundry at 12, and working part-time jobs throughout high school. My parents, Linda and Robert, have always had this strange way of showing love. Marcus got financial support. They paid his rent when he was unemployed for 8 months, bought him a car when his got repossessed, and never once asked for the money back. Chloe got emotional support, constant praise, encouragement, and forgiveness for every mistake. Me? I got expectations. Jessica's so responsible, they'd say. She doesn't need help like the others do. What they really meant was, Jessica will figure it out on her own, so we don't have to worry about her. When I graduated college with a degree in accounting, I moved back home to save money for a house. Down payment. Big mistake. Suddenly, I wasn't just responsible for myself. I was responsible for everyone. I paid rent to my parents, sure, but I also somehow became the family's financial safety net. Marcus needed money for job interview clothes. Jessica will help. Chloe's car needs repairs. Jessica can cover it temporarily. Parents want to take a vacation, but money's tight. Well, Jessica's rent can cover that extra expense this month. The pattern was always the same. They'd ask for help. Just this once, promise to pay me back, and then act like the debt never existed. When I'd bring it up later, I'd get responses like, "We're family," or "Don't be so selfish," or my personal favorite, "We raised you, so this is the least you can do." Over 3 years, I calculated that I'd given my family over $15,000 in various loans and favors. None of it ever came back, but I told myself it was okay because family comes first, right? I was building good karma. I was being the bigger person. I was investing in relationships that would last forever. God, I was naive. The breaking point started 3 weeks before my 26th birthday. I had been planning something special, really special. See, I'd been secretly saving money for months, hiding it from my family because I knew they'd find a way to make me spend it on them. I had saved enough for a down payment on a small house across town. Nothing fancy, just a 2-bedroom starter home that would finally give me independence. I'd already been pre-approved for the mortgage, found the perfect place, and was planning to announce my move at my birthday dinner. I thought they'd be proud. I thought they'd celebrate this milestone with me. I should have known better. 3 weeks before my birthday, I started hearing whispers. Mom and Chloe would stop talking when I entered rooms. Marcus kept smirking at me like he knew something. I didn't. When I asked what was going on, they'd just say, "Oh, nothing, you'll see." I figured they were planning a surprise party. Maybe they were finally going to do something special for me like they always did for Marcus and Chloe. Maybe this year would be different. The Wednesday before my birthday weekend, I came home from work to find the house empty. This was unusual, because Wednesday was Mom's day off, and she was always home baking or watching her shows. I called out, but got no response. That's when I heard it, laughter and music coming from the backyard. I walked to the kitchen window and looked out to see something that made my blood freeze in my veins. There, in our backyard, was a full birthday party in progress. Decorations, cake, presents, about 20 people, including all my aunts, uncles, and cousins. And hanging from the fence was a banner that read, "Happy 26th birthday, Jessica." But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was what I heard when I opened the back door and stepped outside. Nobody noticed me at first. They were all gathered around Chloe, who was opening presents and laughing. My presents. At my birthday. Party that they were throwing without me. "Oh my God, thank you so much," Chloe squealed, holding up a beautiful necklace that my Aunt Sarah had clearly bought for me. "This is perfect." That's when my cousin Tyler spotted me standing in the doorway. The look on his face, pure confusion mixed with embarrassment, made everyone turn around. The silence that followed was deafening. Mom was the first to speak, and her words are burned into my memory forever. "Oh, Jessica, you're home early. We're just having a little family gathering. On my birthday, with my decorations and my cake and my presents being given to my sister. But what happened next would change everything. And they had no idea what they had just unleashed." The silence stretched for what felt like hours, but was probably only 30 seconds. 30 seconds of 20 pairs of eyes staring at me like I was the one who had done something wrong. My dad was the first to move, walking over with this fake smile plastered on his face. "Hey, sweetheart, perfect timing. We were just having a little pre-celebration for your birthday." Pre-celebration. That's what he called it. "My birthday is next Wednesday," I said, my voice sounding strange and distant even to my own ears. "It's not for another week." "We know, honey," Mom chimed in, hurrying over with that tone she used when she was trying to manage a situation. "But Chloe got that promotion at work, and we thought it would be nice to celebrate both of you together. Kill two birds with one stone, you know?" I looked around the yard again. Every decoration was birthday-themed. The cake had "Happy Birthday, Jessica" written on it in pink frosting. The presents that Chloe was still clutching were wrapped in the same paper Mom always used for birthday gifts. "This is my birthday party," I said slowly. "These are my presents, my cake, my decorations." "Don't be dramatic," Marcus said, appearing at my elbow with a beer in his hand. "It's just a party. We can do another one next week if you want. Just a party." As if erasing me from my own birthday celebration was some minor scheduling conflict. That's when Aunt Sarah approached, looking genuinely confused. "I'm sorry, I'm not understanding. Didn't you tell me this was Jessica's birthday party? I bought this necklace specifically for her." Mom's face went red. "Well, yes, technically it was going to be Jessica's party, but since Chloe got her promotion, we thought we'd make it a joint celebration." "But Jessica isn't celebrating," my 12-year-old cousin Emma pointed out with the brutal honesty that only kids possess. "She just got here, and Chloe already opened Jessica's presents." Out of the mouths of babes. I watched my family exchange glances, and I could practically see them trying to decide how to spin this. How to make me the bad guy for being upset that they'd thrown my birthday party without me and given my gifts to my sister. "Look," Dad said, putting his hand on my shoulder in that patronizing way that made my skin crawl. "We knew you'd be working late this week with the Peterson audit, so we thought we'd surprise you by getting everything organized early. Chloe was just helping by opening the presents so they wouldn't sit there." The Peterson audit had been completed 2 weeks ago. He knew that. They all knew that. "I wasn't working late," I said. "I was at the gym, like I am every Wednesday, like I've been every Wednesday for the past 2 years." Another silence, more exchanged glances. That's when the truth started to come, out piece by piece like pulling teeth. It started with my cousin Jake, who'd had a few too many beers and apparently missed the memo about keeping the story straight. "Wait, I thought you said Jessica was out of town this week? That's why we had to do the party today?" Mom shot him a look that could have melted steel. "Jake, you're confused." But Jake wasn't confused, and he wasn't backing down. "No, Linda, I'm not. You specifically told me that Jessica was going to be out of town visiting her college roommate this week, so we had to do her birthday party early or she'd miss it entirely." The house of cards was falling down, and I could see panic starting to creep into my parents' eyes. "I never said I was going out of town," I said, my voice getting stronger. "I don't have any plans to visit anyone. I've been home every night this week." That's when Chloe, who had been unusually quiet during this whole exchange, finally spoke up. And what she said made everything crystal clear. "Look, Jessica, don't make this weird. We all know you hate being the center of attention anyway. I thought you'd be relieved that we handled everything without making you deal with party planning and small talk. I hate being the center of attention. That was rich, coming from the girl who'd posted 47 Instagram stories about her promotion, which was really just a title change with no pay increase. So let me get this straight, I said, looking around at all of them. You planned my birthday party, invited everyone I care about, bought a cake with my name on it, and then decided to have it without me because you thought I wouldn't want to attend my own birthday? You're twisting it, Marcus said. We were trying to be nice by giving my presents to Chloe. They're just things, Mom said. Chloe can share them with you. Just things. My birthday presents were just things that my sister could share with me if she felt generous. I looked at Chloe, still holding the necklace that Aunt Sarah had picked out specifically for me. She wasn't even pretending to look sorry. If anything, she looked annoyed that I was making a scene. Are you going to give me the necklace? I asked her directly. She shrugged. I mean, it really matches my new work clothes better than anything you own. And there it was. The truth, finally out in the open. This wasn't about timing or convenience or thinking I wouldn't want to attend. This was about them deciding that Chloe deserved my birthday more than I did, that her promotion was more important than my actual birth, that my feelings mattered less than their desire to celebrate their favorite child. I felt something shift inside me, a door closing, a bridge burning. 3 years of financial manipulation, emotional neglect, and blatant favoritism suddenly crystallized into perfect, cold clarity. I see, I said quietly. And I did see. I saw everything. I saw that to them. I wasn't a daughter or sister. I was a bank account with legs. I was someone who existed to make their lives easier, to solve their problems, to fade into the background when it was convenient. I saw that they had never intended to celebrate me. They had planned this party, knowing full well that I would come home to find them celebrating in my place. They had wanted me to see this. They had wanted me to know where I stood in the family hierarchy. What they didn't know was that they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I smiled. A real smile. The first genuine smile I'd had in months? Well, I said loud enough for everyone to hear, I hope you all have a wonderful time at my birthday party. I'll be inside if anyone needs me. I turned and walked back into the house, leaving behind a yard full of confused relatives and 3 family members who had no idea what was coming next. Because what they didn't know was that tomorrow, I was supposed to close on my house. Tomorrow, I was supposed to sign papers that would finally give me the independence I'd been craving. But after what I'd just witnessed, I had a much better idea of how to use that down payment money. I went straight to my room and closed the door. But I could still hear the party continuing outside. The laughter seemed louder now, more forced, but they were pushing through the awkwardness. Of course they were. Why let my feelings ruin a perfectly good party? I sat on my bed and tried to process what had just happened. 3 years of supporting this family, and this was how they showed their appreciation. By erasing me from my own birthday and acting like I should be grateful for the privilege. But as I sat there, something else started bothering me. Something beyond the obvious cruelty of what they'd done. The logistics didn't make sense. This party had taken planning. The decorations, the cake, coordinating everyone's schedules, buying food and drinks. This wasn't something they'd thrown together in a few hours. This had been planned for days, maybe weeks, which meant they'd been lying to me for weeks. I opened my laptop and did something I'd never done before. I started looking for evidence. If they could lie about something this big, what else had they been lying about? I started with social media. Mom wasn't very tech-savvy, but she was on Facebook and she never remembered to check her privacy settings. What I found made my stomach drop. 3 weeks ago, the same day I'd started noticing the whispers and secretive behavior, Mom had posted in a family group chat that I wasn't part of. Planning Jessica's birthday party for next Wednesday. She'll be so surprised. Next Wednesday. Not the following Wednesday when my birthday actually was. They had been planning to have my birthday party without me from the very beginning. But it got worse. I scrolled back further and found a conversation between Mom and my Aunt Carol from 2 weeks ago. Mom, we're doing Jessica's party early this year. She's been so stressed with work, we thought we'd surprise her by handling everything. Aunt Carol: That's so sweet. What day? Mom: Next Wednesday. Don't tell her though, it's a surprise. Aunt Carol: Wait, isn't her birthday the following Wednesday? Mom: Yes, but this works better for everyone's schedule. Plus, Chloe just got promoted, so we thought we'd celebrate both girls together. There it was, in black and white. They had planned from the beginning to have my birthday party on the wrong day, without me, and to center it around Chloe's promotion instead. But I was just getting started. I dug deeper into Mom's Facebook messages and found a group chat with my aunts from last week. Aunt Sarah: What should I get Jessica for her birthday? Mom: Honestly, anything would be fine. She's so practical, she doesn't really care about gifts. Aunt Linda: What about jewelry? I saw a beautiful necklace at the mall. Mom: That would be perfect. Although, Chloe has been eyeing some jewelry lately. Maybe something that could work for both girls? Aunt Sarah: I thought this was Jessica's party? Mom: It is, but you know how Jessica is. She'd probably prefer something practical anyway. Chloe would appreciate jewelry more. I had to stop reading for a minute. My own mother was actively steering my birthday presents toward my sister because she thought Chloe would appreciate them more. But the worst was yet to come. In a private message between Mom and Dad from 5 days ago, I found this. Mom: Do you think we should tell Jessica about moving her party? Dad: Why? She'll find out when she gets home. It's not like she had other plans. Mom: I guess you're right. She never does anything for her birthday anyway. She'll probably be relieved we handled it. Dad: Exactly. And this way, Chloe gets to celebrate her promotion properly. 2 birds, 1 stone. Mom: I just hope Jessica doesn't make it weird. Dad: She won't. She never causes drama. That's not her personality. They knew. They knew exactly what they were doing. And they didn't care. They had banked on me being too practical and drama-free to call them out on it. But wait, there was more. I found a text thread between Marcus and Chloe from yesterday. Marcus: So tomorrow's the fake birthday party? Chloe: Don't call it fake. It's Jessica's party, just early. Marcus: Right, where Jessica gets to watch you open her presents. Chloe: Those presents were never really for her anyway. Mom basically told everyone to buy stuff I'd like. Marcus: Brutal. Think she'll figure it out? Chloe: Jessica, please. She'll probably thank us for saving her the trouble of planning something. Marcus: True. She's way too nice to call us out. Chloe: Nice or just pathetic? Marcus: Both? And there it was. The smoking gun. They hadn't just planned to celebrate my birthday without me. They had actively coordinated to make sure the gifts would go to Chloe. My own siblings were laughing about how pathetic I was for being too nice to stand up for myself. I screenshot everything. Every message, every post, every cruel comment. I saved it all to a folder on my desktop labeled Evidence, but I wasn't done investigating. I opened my banking app and started going through 3 years of transactions. Every time I'd helped family members, every loan I'd given, every bill I'd covered. I created a spreadsheet, categorizing everything. The final tally was worse than I'd thought. $23,847. That's how much I'd given my family over the past 3 years. And that wasn't including the rent I'd been paying to live in my childhood bedroom, or the groceries I bought, or the utilities I'd helped cover. I cross-referenced this with my own financial records and realized something that made my hands shake with anger. If I had kept that money instead of giving it to them, I could have bought my house outright. No mortgage, no monthly payments. I could have been living independently for 2 years already. Instead, I'd been funding Marcus's unemployment, Chloe's shopping habits, and my parents' vacation fund while sleeping in a twin bed and being treated like hired help. But here's what really broke me. I found a text from Dad to Mom from 6 months ago, right after I'd given them $2,000 to help with unexpected medical bills. Dad: Jessica came through again. Kid's a gold mine. Mom: We're so lucky she's responsible. Makes everything easier, Dad. Think we should pay her back this time? Mom. For what? We fed her for 18 years. She owes us more than we owe her. A gold mine. That's what I was to them. Not a daughter, not a sister. A gold mine to be mined until there was nothing left. I sat back in my chair, looking at everything I'd discovered. The scope of their deception was breathtaking. This wasn't just about one birthday party. This was a pattern of manipulation, financial abuse, and emotional neglect that had been going on for years. They had systematically trained me to accept less, to expect nothing, and to be grateful for scraps. They had turned me into their personal ATM while treating me like I was lucky to be included in the family at all. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that I had been planning to leave anyway. Tomorrow, I was supposed to close on a house. I had $30,000 saved for the down payment, plus moving expenses, $30,000 that they didn't know about. $30,000 that would have given me the fresh start I'd been dreaming of. But after seeing how they really felt about me, after reading their messages and understanding the depth of their betrayal, I realized something important. I didn't want a fresh start. I wanted justice. I wanted them to understand what they had lost. I wanted them to realize the true cost of their greed and favoritism. I wanted them to experience the same shock and betrayal that I was feeling right now. And suddenly, I knew exactly how to make that happen. I picked up my phone and made a call to my real estate agent. Hi, Jennifer. It's Jessica. I need to cancel the closing tomorrow. Something's come up. Then I made another call to my bank. Hi. I'd like to schedule an appointment to close my savings account and get a cashier's check for the full amount. Finally, I opened my laptop and started typing. It was time to write some messages of my own, but first I was going to let them finish their party. Let them celebrate and laugh and feel good about what they'd done. Let them think they'd gotten away with it. Because tomorrow, they were going to learn that underestimating me was the biggest mistake they'd ever made. I stayed in my room for the rest of the evening, listening to the sounds of my own birthday party happening without me. Every burst of laughter felt like a knife twist, but I used that pain to fuel my planning. By the time the last guest left around 10 p.m., I had a complete strategy mapped out. The next morning, I woke up early and went through my normal routine. I made coffee, ate breakfast, and got ready for work like nothing had happened. When I came downstairs, Mom was in the kitchen cleaning up the remnants of the party. "Morning, sweetheart," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Did you sleep well?" "Like a baby," I replied, pouring my coffee. "Thanks for asking." She seemed surprised by my calm tone. I could see her trying to gauge my mood, probably expecting me to be upset or dramatic. But I'd learned something important about my family over the years. They only respected strength, and anger wasn't strength. Planning was strength. "About yesterday," she started, but I cut her off. "Don't worry about it, Mom. Actually, I'm glad you handled everything. I've been so busy with work that I probably wouldn't have planned anything anyway." The relief on her face was almost comical. "Oh, good. I was worried you might be upset." "Upset? Why would I be upset?" "You saved me a lot of trouble." I could see her relaxing, probably thinking she'd dodged a bullet. Poor Mom. She had no idea the bullet was still coming. I went to work as normal, but during my lunch break, I drove to the bank. I closed my savings account and had them issue a cashier's check for $30,247. Everything I'd saved for the house, plus a little extra I'd been keeping for emergencies. Then I made another stop at a local law office. I'd done some research the website night before and found a lawyer who specialized in family financial disputes. I made an appointment for the following week and gave them copies of all the screenshots and financial records I'd compiled. "This is quite comprehensive," the lawyer said, flipping through my documentation. "You've been very thorough." "I'm an accountant," I said. "I like details." "I can see that. What exactly are you hoping to accomplish here?" "I want them to understand that actions have consequences. I've been funding their lifestyle for 3 years while they've been laughing behind my back. I want my money back, and I want them to know that I'm not the pushover they think I am." The lawyer nodded. "This amount of financial manipulation within a family, it's more common than you'd think. And legally, you have several options." We discussed my choices, and I selected the one that would have the most impact. It would take A few days to prepare the paperwork, but it would be worth the wait. After the lawyer's office, I made one more stop, a local storage facility. I rented a unit and paid for 6 months in advance. When I got home that evening, the house felt different. Lighter somehow, like I'd already started letting go. Dad was in his recliner watching TV, and Chloe was at the kitchen table with her laptop. Mom was cooking dinner. "Jessica," Chloe called out when she saw me. "Look what I'm doing with the necklace Aunt Sarah gave me yesterday. I'm posting it on Instagram." She held up her phone, showing me a selfie of her wearing my birthday gift. The caption read, "Feeling blessed and grateful for my amazing family. Promoted, blessed new jewelry." "It looks great on you," I said, and I meant it. Because after this week, she was going to remember that necklace very differently. "Thanks. Mom was right. It really does suit me better than it would have suited you." Mom looked up from the stove, her face flushing slightly. "Chloe, what? You said Jessica doesn't really wear jewelry anyway. And this color brings out my eyes." I smiled. "You're absolutely right. It does bring out your eyes." Chloe beamed, completely missing the undertone in my voice. Over dinner, they chatted about the party like I'd been there the whole time. They talked about who had said what, which relatives had brought the best food, how much fun everyone had. Aunt Sarah asked. "Where you were," Dad mentioned. I told her you'd stepped inside to take a work call. A work call. During my own birthday party. Perfect. That was smart thinking, I said. Very considerate. Marcus showed up after dinner, letting himself in through the back door like he always did. He was carrying a small wrapped box. "Hey, Jessica," he said, tossing the box on the table in front of me. "Happy belated birthday, I guess." I opened it to find a gift card to Target for $25. "Thanks, Marcus. This is really thoughtful," he shrugged. "Mom said you needed practical stuff for when you eventually move out. When I eventually move out. Not if, when." They were already planning my departure, probably so they could convert my room into something more useful. "Actually," I said, taking a breath, "that's something I wanted to talk to you all about." The conversation at the table stopped. Everyone looked at me with varying degrees of curiosity and concern. I've been doing some thinking, and I've decided it's time for some changes in my life. "What kind of changes?" Mom asked, her voice careful. "Well, for starters, I think it's time I moved out. I'm 26 years old, and I should be living independently." Nods all around. Of course they agreed with that. "But before I do that, I want to settle some outstanding debts." The nodding stopped. "What debts?" Dad asked. I pulled out my phone and opened the spreadsheet I'd created. Over the past 3 years, I've loaned this family a total of $23,147. I have documentation for every transaction. The silence that followed was deafening. Now I know we're family, and family helps family. But the thing is, I'm going to need that money back so I can put a deposit on an apartment. "Jessica," Mom started, "we never said those were loans." "Actually, you did. I have text messages where you promised to pay me back. I have voicemails where you used the word borrow. I have records of everything." I could see panic starting to creep into their faces. "But don't worry," I continued. "I'm not expecting it all at once. We can work out a payment plan." "A payment plan?" Marcus laughed, but it sounded forced. "Come on, Jessica, we're family." "Exactly, we're family, which is why I'm sure you'll want to do the right thing." Chloe was looking back and forth between everyone like she was watching a tennis match. "Wait, what's happening? What loans?" "Your sister has been keeping very detailed records," Dad said, his voice tight. "Apparently, every time we've asked for help, she's been treating it like a business transaction." "That's not fair," I said calmly. "I never treated it like business. I treated it like family. But yesterday, I realized that we might have different definitions of what family means." "What's that supposed to mean?" Mom asked. "It means that I've learned something important about how this family operates. And I've decided that if we're going to operate like a business, then we should be clear about the terms." I stood up from the table. "I'll give you all some time to think about it. We can discuss payment options this weekend." I started to leave, then turned back. "Oh, and one more thing. I won't be available to help with any more financial emergencies until we get this sorted out. Just so you know." The looks on their faces were priceless. Confusion, anger, and the first glimpse of real concern. But this was just the opening move. Over the next few days, I watched them squirm. Marcus called me twice, trying to convince me to be reasonable. Chloe attempted to guilt me with stories about how hard it was to make ends meet on her new salary. Mom and Dad tried a combination of emotional manipulation and outright dismissal. "We raised you," Dad said during one conversation. "We fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head for 18 years. If anything, you owe us." "You're absolutely right," I agreed. "Let me calculate the cost of raising a child, and we can offset that against what you owe me." I had done the research. The average cost of raising a child to 18 is about $233,000. Divided by 18 years, that was roughly $13,000 per year, or about $100 per month. "I've been paying you $800 per month in rent for 3 years, I pointed out. "That's $28,800. Plus my share of utilities and groceries, we're looking at close to $35,000. So actually, by your logic, you still owe me money for the extra I've contributed as an adult." Dad's face went red. "That's not how it works, Jessica. Isn't it?" "I'm just following your math, Dad." But I wasn't done yet. The real surprise was still coming. On Friday, exactly 1 week after my birthday party, I got the call I'd been waiting for. "Ms. Jessica, this is Jennifer from the law office. Your paperwork is ready." Saturday morning, I woke up early and got dressed in my best business suit. I had breakfast, gathered my materials, and prepared for the most important conversation of, my life. It was time for the confrontation they'd never see coming. Saturday morning arrived crisp and clear. I woke up at 6 a.m., made coffee, and sat in the kitchen reviewing my notes one final time. Everything was organized, documented, and ready. After 3 years of being the family doormat, today was the day I stood up. Mom came downstairs around 8, surprised to find me already awake and dressed. "You're up early for a Saturday," she said, eyeing my business attire. "Do you have to work?" "No, but I do have some family business to take care of. Actually, could you ask Dad, Marcus, and Chloe to come down? I'd like to talk to everyone at once." Something in my tone must have alerted her because her smile faltered. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine. I just have some things to discuss with the family." 20 minutes later, we were all assembled in the living room. Dad was in his usual recliner. Mom perched nervously on the edge of the couch. Marcus sprawled in the armchair looking annoyed at being summoned so early, and Chloe curled up in the corner with her coffee, still wearing pajamas. I stood in front of them, briefcase in hand, feeling more confident than I had in years. "Thank you all for coming. I know it's early, but I wanted to have this conversation when we could all focus without distractions." "Jesus, Jessica," Marcus groaned. "What's with the lawyer costume? Are you about to serve us papers or something?" I smiled. "Funny you should mention that." I opened my briefcase and pulled out a stack of documents. Over the past week, I've had some time to reflect on our family dynamics, and I've come to some important realizations. I've also done some investigating. I handed each of them a folder containing printed screenshots of all the messages I'd found. "What's this?" Dad asked, opening his folder. "Those are copies of text messages, Facebook posts, and other communications between family members over the past month. I think you'll find them interesting reading." I watched their faces as they started, going through the documents. Mom's went pale first as she recognized her own Facebook messages. Dad's jaw tightened as he read his text with Mom. Marcus actually laughed at first, until he got to his conversation with Chloe about me being pathetic. Chloe was the last to understand what she was looking at. When it hit her, she looked up at me with wide eyes. "Where did you get these?" she whispered. "Facebook is a wonderful thing when people don't check their privacy settings," I said calmly, "and text messages leave quite a trail." "You went through our private messages?" Mom asked, her voice rising. "I went through messages that involved me and my birthday. Messages where you coordinated to exclude me from my own celebration and redirect my gifts to Chloe. Messages where you called me a gold mine and discussed whether you should pay me back the money I've loaned you." The silence was thick with tension. I'm particularly interested in this conversation, I continued, pulling out a specific printout. Dad, you wrote, and I quote, "Jessica came through again. Kid's a gold mine. Think we should pay her back this time?" And Mom, you responded, "For what? We fed her for 18 years. She owes us more than we owe her." Dad's face had gone from pale to red. That was taken out of context. Was it? Because I have 3 years of context right here. I pulled out my financial spreadsheet. $23,847. That's how much I've given this family in loans that were never intended to be paid back. Now wait just a minute. Dad started to stand up. Sit down, Dad. I'm not finished. Something in my voice made him comply. Marcus, I found your conversation with Chloe particularly enlightening. Let me read it for everyone. I cleared my throat. Think she'll figure it out? Jessica, please. She'll probably thank us for saving her the trouble of planning something. True. She's way too nice to call us out. Nice or just pathetic? Both? Marcus had the decency to look ashamed. Chloe was staring at her hands. So you see, I've learned a lot about how this family really operates. I've learned that I'm not a daughter or a sister. I'm a resource to be exploited. I'm the family ATM, the reliable one who will always say, yes, the pathetic pushover who's too nice to stand up for herself. That's not true, Mom said weakly. Isn't it? Let's examine the evidence. 3 years ago, I moved back home to save money for a house. In that time, I've paid you rent, utilities, groceries, and given loans that total more than most people make in a year. And what have I gotten in return? I looked around the room. I got to watch my brother receive constant financial support while contributing nothing. I got to watch my sister be celebrated and praised while I was ignored. And last week, I got to come home to find my entire family celebrating my birthday without me, giving my presents to Chloe, and then being told I should be grateful you handled everything. We were trying to be nice, Chloe said, finally speaking up. Were you? Because according to your text messages, you told Marcus that the presents were never really for her anyway. Because Mom had told everyone to buy stuff you'd like. Chloe's mouth fell open. She'd forgotten about that particular message. Here's what's going to happen, I continued, pulling out another set of documents. I've consulted with a lawyer about my options regarding the money I'm owed. These are formal demand letters for repayment of the loans with documentation of every transaction. I handed each of them a legal document. You have 30 days to respond with a payment plan, or this matter will be turned over to a collection agency and potentially small claims court. You can't be serious, Dad said, staring at the papers. We're your family. Yes, we are. And I've learned that family means different things to different people. To me, family means love, support, and mutual respect. To you, family means having someone you can use without consequences. That's not fair, Mom said, tears starting to form in her eyes. Fair? Mom, let me tell you what's not fair. What's not fair is working 2 jobs in high school while Marcus got an allowance for doing nothing. What's not fair is paying my own college tuition while Chloe's was handed to her. What's not fair is being asked to contribute to family expenses while being excluded from family decisions. I walked over to the mantle where they kept family photos and picked up one from Chloe's college graduation. What's not fair is being the one who pays for family celebrations and then being written out of them. What's not fair is being called a gold mine behind my back while being treated like hired help to my face. I set the photo down and turned back to them. But you know what the most unfair thing is? The most unfair thing is that I convinced myself this was normal. That I convinced myself I deserved less because I was responsible and didn't need help. Like the others. Jessica, Dad said, his voice softer now. Maybe we haven't always been fair, but suing your own family, I'm not suing anyone, yet. I'm simply asking for what I'm owed. Money that I earned and chose to share with people I thought loved me. I pulled out one final document, the cashier's check. Here's the thing, though. I don't actually need that money back. Do you want to know why? I held up the check so they could see the amount. $30,000. That's how much I had saved for a house down payment. Money you didn't know about because I learned to hide my success from people who would find a way to take it from me. Mom gasped at the amount. Dad's eyes went wide. $30,000 that I was going to use to buy my independence. But after last week, I realized something important. I don't want to just leave. I want you to understand what you've lost. I walked over to the coffee table and set the check down where everyone could see it. This represents 3 years of sacrifice. 3 years of living in my childhood bedroom, driving a 10-year-old car, and wearing the same clothes I had in college. I saved every penny I could because I had a dream of owning my own home. Jessica, Mom whispered, you don't have to. But here's what I realized. A house is just a building. What I really wanted was a home, a place where I felt valued, where I belonged, where people celebrated my successes instead of resenting them. I picked up the check and held it up. So I'm not buying a house. Instead, I'm buying something much more valuable. I'm buying my self-respect. I tore the check in half. The sound of the paper ripping was the loudest thing in the room. What are you doing? Chloe shrieked, jumping up from the couch. I'm making a point. That money represents everything I sacrificed for this family. And just like my birthday, just like my feelings, just like my needs, it doesn't matter to you, unless you can benefit from it. I tore the check into smaller pieces and let them fall to the floor. But unlike my birthday presents, unlike my dignity, unlike the last 3 years of my life, this is something I have control over. And I choose to destroy it rather than let it be another source of disappointment. The room was dead silent except for Mom's quiet crying. Don't worry though, I said, reaching into my briefcase one more time. I actually have the real check right here. I pulled out an identical cashier's check. Banks are very accommodating when you explain that you need a duplicate because the first one was used for a demonstration. The relief on their faces was almost comical. But this check isn't for a house anymore. This check is for my new life. A life where I don't have to beg for basic respect from people who are supposed to love me unconditionally. I put the check back in my briefcase and closed it with a satisfying snap. Here's what's going to happen. I'm moving out. Today. I've already rented an apartment across town, and my things will be picked up this afternoon. Today? Mom asked, looking panicked. Today? I would have given you more notice, but apparently we don't communicate important plans in this family. We just make decisions and let people figure it out later. I picked up my briefcase and headed toward the stairs. The legal documents are real. You do owe me that money, and I do expect to be paid back. Not because I need it, but because actions have consequences. You taught me that this week. I paused at the bottom of the stairs and looked back at my family one more time. And for what it's worth, I hope you enjoyed my birthday party. It was the last thing I'll ever give you for free. As I walked upstairs to pack my things, I could hear them arguing behind me. Voices raised, accusations flying, panic setting in. For the first time in 3 years, their problems weren't my problems to solve, and it felt absolutely liberating. 2 hours later, the moving truck I'd arranged pulled up in front of the house. I'd been planning this for days, coordinating with a moving company that specialized in quick relocations. Everything I owned fit into a one-bedroom truck, which was both sad and liberating at the same time. My family watched from the living room window as professional movers loaded my furniture. I could see their faces, confusion, anger, and something that might have been regret. Mom came outside as I was doing a final walkthrough of my room. Jessica, please, can't we talk about this? You're being so dramatic. Am I? Because it seems... To me, I'm being exactly as dramatic as the situation warrants. But your family. Family doesn't sue each other. I stopped packing and looked at her. Family also doesn't steal each other's birthdays, Mom. Family doesn't call each other gold mines behind their backs. Family doesn't coordinate to exclude one person while benefiting from their generosity. We never meant to hurt you, didn't you? Because those text messages suggest otherwise. You actively planned to give my birthday presents to Chloe. You told relatives to buy things she would like instead of things I would like. You celebrated without me on purpose. She was crying now, but I felt surprisingly little sympathy. The moving truck is here, I said, shouldering my last bag. I'll be in touch about the repayment schedule. As I walked past her toward the stairs, she grabbed my arm. What about rent? You still owe us for this month. I turned to look at her, and for a moment I saw exactly what she was. Someone so focused on money that even in this moment, that's what she was thinking about. Check your lease agreement, Mom. I paid first and last month when I moved in 3 years ago. This month was already covered. Her face fell as she realized I was right. But what about next month? We were counting on your rent money. Then I suggest you figure out a new budget. Maybe Marcus can contribute something, or Chloe can take on some expenses with her new promotion salary. I gently removed her hand from my arm. Or you could use some of that money you've been saving by not paying me back for 3 years. Downstairs, I found Dad waiting by the front door. I hope you're proud of yourself, he said as I approached. Actually, I am. For the first time in 3 years, I'm proud of how I handled a family situation. You're destroying this family. No. Dad, I'm just stopping enabling the destruction that was already happening. I handed him my house key. The legal paperwork is real. You can choose to work with me on a payment plan, or you can choose to make this more difficult. But either way, the days of taking advantage of me are over. Marcus appeared in the doorway behind Dad. You're really going to take money from your own family? We're not rich, Jessica. We don't have $23,000 lying around. Then you shouldn't have borrowed $23,000 that you never intended to pay back. We thought you were helping because you wanted to help. I was helping because I wanted to help. But I also believed that if I ever needed help, in return, you'd be there for me. Last week, I learned how wrong I was about that. I looked past Marcus to where Chloe was hovering in the hallway, still wearing my birthday necklace. Chloe, I hope you enjoy the necklace. Every time you wear it, I want you to remember what it cost. What do you mean? She asked, touching the chain defensively. It cost me my relationship with this family. It cost me 3 years of believing I had people who loved me unconditionally. It cost me the last bit of trust I had in any of you. Her face crumpled, but I felt nothing. That's a very expensive necklace, Chloe. I hope it was worth it. The moving truck driver appeared at the door. Ma'am, we're all loaded up. Ready to go? I nodded and followed him outside, leaving my family standing in the doorway. As the truck pulled away, I didn't look back. My new apartment was small but bright, with big windows and hardwood floors. For the first time in 3 years, I had my own space. No one could walk into my room without permission. No one could go through my things. No one could demand money or favors or explanations. The silence was golden. Over the next few weeks, I watched the fallout unfold with a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. Marcus called first, 2 days after I moved out. Jessica, this is ridiculous. We're family. Can't you just forget about the money? Can you forget about the 3 years you spent treating me like a bank account? That's not fair. Marcus, in 3 years, you've never once asked me how I'm doing, what I want, or what my dreams are. But you've asked me for money 17 times. I have the receipts. He hung up on me. Mom called next, a week later. Your father's had to pick up extra shifts to cover the rent without your contribution. He's exhausted. I'm sorry to hear that. Have you considered asking Marcus to contribute? He's been living there rent-free for 6 months. Marcus doesn't have a steady job. Then maybe Marcus should get a steady job, like I did when I was his age. You're being cruel. Am I? Or am I just not being convenient anymore? Chloe was the last to reach out, 2 weeks after I moved. Jessica, I miss you. Can we please talk? What would you like to talk about, Chloe? I'm sorry about the birthday thing. We really were trying to be nice. By excluding me from my own celebration, we thought you'd hate being the center of attention. Did you ask me? Did anyone think to ask what I wanted for my own birthday? Silence. Chloe, do you know what I wanted for my birthday? What? I wanted my family to celebrate me. Just once, I wanted to feel like I mattered as much as everyone else. I wanted to feel loved and valued and appreciated. You are loved. Am I? Because love isn't just a word, Chloe. Love is actions. Love is consideration. Love is treating people like they matter. We can do better. Can you? Because I've been waiting 3 years for you to do better, and it never happened. In fact, it got worse. Please come home. I am home, Chloe. For the first time in 3 years, I'm actually home. The legal proceedings moved forward smoothly. My documentation was so thorough that there was really no dispute about the facts. My family hired a lawyer who tried to argue that loans between family members shouldn't be legally enforceable, but the paper trail I'd created made it clear that these were intended as temporary financial assistance, not gifts. In the end, we settled out of court. They agreed to a payment plan of $500 per month for 4 years with interest. The first payment arrived exactly on time, delivered by certified mail. No note, no apology, just a check. 3 months after I moved out, I heard through extended family that Marcus had finally gotten a job and was contributing to household expenses. Chloe had taken on a second job to help with finances. My parents had canceled their vacation plans and were actually living within their means for the first time in years. Apparently, without me there to subsidize their lifestyle, they'd been forced to make some hard choices about spending and responsibility. The family goldmine had dried up, and they were learning to live without it. I felt no satisfaction in their struggles, but I felt no guilt either. They were simply experiencing the natural consequences of their choices. 6 months after I moved out, Aunt Sarah called me. "I owe you an apology," she said. "I had no idea what was really going on with your birthday party. If I'd known they planned it without you, I never would have participated. Thank you for saying that. I'm also embarrassed that I let your mother talk me into buying a gift that was really for Chloe. That wasn't right. It's okay. You didn't know. No, it's not okay. And I want you to know that the whole extended family is talking about what happened. Most of us had no idea how they were treating you. Apparently, my family's financial struggles had become harder to hide once they couldn't use my money to maintain their lifestyle. Other relatives were starting to ask questions about why they'd always seemed to have money for extras but suddenly couldn't afford basic expenses. The truth was coming out, and it wasn't a good look for them. But you know what? That wasn't my problem anymore. For the first time in years, their problems were truly their own to solve. 1 year later, I was living in a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment with a view of the park. I'd been promoted to senior accountant at my firm, gotten a significant raise, and had started dating someone who actually valued my intelligence and independence. My savings account was healthy again, and I'd started investing in my retirement. Without the constant drain of family financial emergencies, I was amazed at how quickly I could build wealth when I was only responsible for myself. I'd also started therapy, which had been incredibly helpful in understanding the dynamics I'd grown up with. My therapist helped me see that what I'd experienced was financial abuse, and that my family had trained me from childhood to accept less than I deserved. Families like yours, she explained, often designate one child as the responsible one, and then exploit that responsibility. They make you feel guilty for having boundaries and grateful for being included at all. It was validating to have a professional confirm what I'd suspected, that the problem wasn't me being too sensitive or demanding. The problem was a family system that thrived on inequality. I'd made new friends through work and hobbies, people who saw me as a whole person rather than just a source of financial support. I'd joined a hiking club, taken cooking classes, and started volunteering at a financial literacy nonprofit that helped people escape exploitative family situations. Helping others recognize financial abuse had become a passion of mine. The monthly payments from my family continued to arrive on time, though still without any personal notes. I deposited each check and put the money into an investment account earmarked for my future house fund. I'd found a realtor and started looking at properties again. This time, though, I wasn't in a rush. I was taking time to find exactly what I wanted, and I was going to buy it with money that was purely mine. About 18 months after I moved out, I got an unexpected visitor at work. Chloe appeared in my office lobby, looking nervous and fidgeting with her purse strap. "I know you probably don't want to see me," she said when I came downstairs, "but I was hoping we could talk." We went to a coffee shop across the street, and I waited for her to speak. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened," she said finally. "And I've realized some things about myself that I don't like." I sipped my coffee and listened. "I was jealous of you. I know that sounds crazy because you always seemed so serious and responsible, but I was jealous that you had your life together, that you were successful and independent." "Okay. And instead of working on myself, I let Mom and Dad make me feel like I deserved what you had earned. I let them convince me that taking your birthday presents was somehow fair because you didn't appreciate them anyway." She was crying now, and I handed her a napkin. "I miss you," she said. "I miss having a sister. And I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I wanted you to know that I understand now what we did to you." I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation or agenda, but she seemed genuinely remorseful. "What changed?" I asked. Having to actually support myself changed everything. "When you left, I had to start paying for my own phone bill, my own car insurance, my own everything. And I realized how hard you'd been working to support not just yourself, but all of us." She wiped her eyes. "I got a second job and I've been paying mom and dad rent. And you know what? It's hard. Really hard. I don't know how you did it for 3 years while also giving us loans on top of everything else." "It was hard," I agreed. "I also realized that in 3 years of living in the same house, I never once asked about your day, your job, your dreams, anything. I only talked to you when I needed something. That was true, and it hurt to hear it acknowledged. I don't expect you to forgive me," she continued, "but I wanted you to know that I'm different now. I'm working on becoming someone who deserves to have you as a sister." We sat in silence for a while. "I appreciate you telling me this," I said finally. "It means something that you can see what happened clearly. Does this mean we can try to rebuild our relationship?" I considered her question carefully. "Maybe someday, but not yet. I'm still healing from the damage that was done, and I need to protect that process." She nodded, looking sad but understanding. "I'll keep working on myself. And maybe in a year or two, if you're open to it, we could try having coffee again." "Maybe," I said. "But Chloe, any future relationship we have will be different. I'm not the same person who will sacrifice herself to keep the peace." "I know, and honestly, I'm glad. The old dynamic wasn't healthy for any of us." After she left, I sat in the coffee shop for another hour, processing the conversation. It was the first real accountability I'd heard from any family member, and while it didn't erase the hurt, it felt like a small step towards something healthier. But I wasn't ready to take that step yet, and that was okay too. 6 months later, I closed on my house. A beautiful 3-bedroom colonial with a big backyard and a mortgage that I could easily afford on my own income. At the closing, my realtor asked if I was excited. "I'm proud," I said. "This house represents the hardest lesson I've ever learned and the strongest I've ever been." The first night in my new house, I cooked dinner in my own kitchen and ate at my own table in my own dining room. Everything around me had been chosen by me, paid for by me, and was accountable to no one but me. I thought about the girl who had moved back in with her parents 3 years ago, hoping to save money and build relationships. She had been so eager to please, so willing to sacrifice, so afraid of being seen as selfish. That girl was gone, and I didn't miss her. In her place was a woman who knew her worth, maintained her boundaries, and refused to accept less than she deserved. It had cost me a family, but it had given me myself, and that was the best trade I'd ever made. Looking back now, I realize that my family did me the biggest favor of my life when they celebrated my birthday without me. They showed me exactly who they were and what I meant to them, and they gave me the clarity I needed to change my life. The most surprising thing about this whole experience wasn't their betrayal. It was discovering how strong I actually was, when I stopped making myself small to accommodate their selfishness. I learned that being kind doesn't mean being a doormat, that being family doesn't excuse cruel behavior, and that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to enable someone's worst impulses. My story isn't unique. There are millions of people out there who are being financially and emotionally exploited by family members who have convinced them that this treatment is normal, or deserved, or just how families work. If you're one of those people, I want you to know that you deserve better. You deserve to be celebrated, not used. You deserve to have your generosity appreciated, not taken for granted. You deserve to be valued for who you are, not just what you can provide. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary. Demanding respect isn't cruel, it's healthy. And sometimes, the people who love you the least are the ones who claim to love you the most. I want to hear from you in the comments. What part of this story surprised you the most? Have you ever dealt with family members who took advantage of your kindness? And most importantly, Where are you watching from? Please subscribe to hear more stories about standing up for yourself, setting boundaries, and finding the strength to choose yourself when no one else will. Remember, you are worth more than what you can do for other people. You are valuable just as you are.